The story unfolds on a bright morning, where a woman, full of warmth and enthusiasm, nudges her son to introduce himself to a new acquaintance. She beams as she introduces him to Lee McKay, the daughter of a family friend, who will be moving into the second floor of their home. "Mom, you can't just bring a girl to live with us," the boy, Kim Jake, protests, annoyance creeping into his voice. His mother, unfazed, replies with a playful smirk. "Well, this house belongs to me, doesn't it?" Embarrassed, Jake can't muster the courage to meet Lee's gaze, his eyes dropping to the floor. Lee, with a friendly smile, extends her hand, introducing herself. "Hi, I'm Lee. It's a pleasure to meet you." Jake, flustered, awkwardly shakes her hand with just a few fingers, mumbling, "Nice to meet you too. I'm Kim Jake." As he stumbles through his words, he starts to explain their home. "We have 2 floors. The second floor was, used for storage, but now it'll be your bedroom." Lee's eyes light up with curiosity. "Do you go to Eamon High School?" she asks, her smile radiant. "I'm transferring there." Jake's heart races at the thought of her joining his school, but he can't bring himself to look her in the eye. He simply nods, lost in a whirlwind of thoughts about what it would be like to have her around. Just then, his mother calls out, "Jake, can you help Lee organize her room?" He nods, still in a daze, as they both bid her farewell, wishing her a safe trip to work. As they stand together, Jake notices Lee's composed demeanor. She's really polite, he thinks, feeling a mix of admiration and shyness. But as he grapples with his nerves, Lee suddenly calls out to him, breaking his reverie. "Hey, do you have a lighter?" she asks, rummaging through his pocket with a boldness that catches him off guard. "Or a match? You're such an idiot." Jake's heart sinks as he senses a shift in her personality. Could she be a bully? With a teasing smirk, Lee steps closer, her expression turning slightly disgusted. "Why aren't you responding? Can't even look me in the eye?" Jake, still the shy nerd, feels the heat rise to his cheeks. He avoids her gaze, feeling the sting of her mocking laughter as she calls him a loser. The word echoes in his mind, igniting a flicker of irritation within him, reminding him of the countless moments he's endured. Later that day, as Jake approaches the looming structure of Eamon High School, he can't shake the feeling of dread. The atmosphere in the schoolyard is thick with tension as the red-haired bully, Sang-bom, sneers at Kim Jake. "Look at you, loser," he taunts, his friends erupting into laughter around him. Each chuckle feels like a dagger, and Jake's annoyance simmers beneath the surface as he mutters to himself, "I'm not a loser." His mind drifts back to the beginning of the semester, a time when Sang-bom had introduced himself with a friendly smile, calling Jake a friend. "Hey, can you grab me some banana milk? I'm thirsty," the bully had said, lounging comfortably in front of him. Jake had been taken aback, incredulous. "Why should I do that?" "Get it yourself," he had replied, a hint of defiance in his voice. In an instant, the atmosphere shifted. Sang-bom's smile vanished, replaced by a menacing glare. "Bring it to me, or I'll make you regret it," he threatened, his voice low and dangerous. Before Jack could process the sudden change, a sharp slap across his face sent him reeling. "You think you can talk back to me?" Sang-bom growled, delivering another blow. "You answered wrong." With each strike, Jake curled up, tears streaming down his face as the bully continued his relentless torment. Fast forward to the present, and Jake finds himself in a different kind of torment. Sang-bom is complaining loudly. "Red bean bread? I told you I don't like that." Jake stammers an apology. "I forgot." Sang-bom feigns forgiveness, but then, without warning, he punches Jake hard in the stomach. "I'll let you off easy this time, but you're still getting punished." "How many punches do you want?" Gasping for breath, Jake, still reeling from the pain, weakly replies, 3. Sang-bom's laughter is chilling, a psychopathic glee in his eyes. 3? That means 9 punches, he cackles, launching into a brutal counting of each blow. "Hey, the teacher's coming," one of the bullies warns, but Sang-bom just shrugs, leaving Jake to suffer. "I'll deal with you later, nerd," he sneers, walking away with his friends. All Jake can do is cry, feeling utterly defeated as the bullies leave, knowing that this torment is a daily reality for him. Moments later, the teacher enters the classroom calling for everyone to take their seats. "Is anyone absent today?" he asks, then gestures to the back of the room. "We have a new student joining us." Jake, still shaken, walks to his seat. Just as he's about to sit down, he glances at the new student and freezes, his eyes widening in disbelief. It's Lee McKay, the girl who just moved into the second floor of his house. She beams at the class, introducing herself warmly. "Hi everyone. I'm Lee, and I'm excited to get to know all of you. The other students respond with praise, but Jake is in shock. The teacher scans the room for an empty chair and points to one at the back, just behind Jake. As Lee approaches, she suddenly pauses, her expression shifting as she recognizes the name. She looks at Jake, who is desperately avoiding her gaze, still embarrassed from their earlier encounter. Realization dawns on her, and irritation flashes across her face. Why did I have to end up in the same class as this loser? She mutters under her breath, her annoyance palpable. As the teacher calls for everyone to settle down, Lee takes her seat right behind Kim Jake. He can feel the heat rising in his cheeks, sweating nervously under her gaze. Why did she have to sit right behind me? He wonders, recalling his mother's insistence that he look out for her since she had just moved from another city. But how could he, a self-proclaimed nerd, possibly help her? Suddenly, he feels a light nudge against his back. Confused, he turns around to see Lee, a teasing smile on her face, holding a crumpled piece of paper. Before he can react, she tosses it at him, the paper hitting him squarely in the face. Startled, he quickly opens the note, only to find her written message. Pretend you don't know me. Anger bubbles up inside him. Even pretending not to know her felt impossible. He crumples the note in frustration, feeling trapped in this awkward situation. Time passes, and recess arrives. Jake sits at his desk, doodling absent-mindedly on a piece of paper. Despite his mixed feelings about Lee, he can't shake the thought that being a new student must be tough. Determined to help, he stands up and leaves the classroom, leaving a piece of paper on Lee's chair. Curious, Lee picks up the paper and asks, "What's this?" But Jake doesn't respond. She unfolds it and discovers it's a map of the school, a thoughtful gesture to help her navigate. A small smile creeps onto her face, and she falls silent, touched by his kindness. Meanwhile, in the boys' restroom, the bullies are at it again. Sangbom, the red-haired bully, looms over Jake, asking, "How many punches should I give you today?" "Just don't," Jake mutters, his heart racing. Sangbom's expression is cold and psychopathic as he leans in closer, taunting, "Bite hard because I'm going to punch your jaw." Jake closes his eyes, biting his lip, bracing himself for the inevitable blow. He curses Sangbom in his mind, wishing for the torment to end. Just as the bully's fist is about to connect, he suddenly opens his hand, placing his palm flat against Jake's face instead. "Surprise, I won't hit you this time?" Sangbom says, leaving Jake utterly confused. What's wrong with this guy? He thinks, bewildered by the sudden change in behavior. Sangbom leans in closer, his tone shifting. "I need to ask you a favor," he says, and Jake's heart sinks. "Are you good at studying?" Jake blinks, taken aback by the unexpected question. A chubby friend of Sangbom's, who looks like he's been up all night, pipes up. He seems addicted to games. Sangbom shoots him a glare, then turns back to Jake. "No, he's actually good at studying. I heard from the class president that he's top of the school." Jake thinks to himself, "I'm not a genius, but I used to do well on tests." Sangbom grabs Jake's hand without shame, his expression serious. "I need you to help me with the tests. Make some cheat sheets for me on test day." Jake's heart races. "Cheat? If we get caught, we'll both be in trouble." Another friend of Sangbom asks, "Why do you suddenly want to do well on tests?" Sangbom's face softens slightly as he explains, "I want to study abroad. My mom said I can only go if I do well on my tests. I really want to leave this place." Sangbom's demeanor shifts again as he turns back to Jake, grabbing him by the shoulder, veins popping from his neck in irritation. "So will you help or not?" he demands, cursing under his breath. Jake, drenched in sweat and fear, struggles to find his voice. But before he can respond, Sangbom suddenly punches him hard in the stomach. The unexpected blow sends Jake sprawling to the ground, gasping for air, saliva spilling from his mouth as he kneels, trying to recover from the attack. Sangbom steps closer to Kim, who is still on the ground, and lightly pats him on the back. "I'll ask you one more time," he says, his voice dripping with mockery. "Will you help me or not?" Tears welling in his eyes but maintaining a firm expression, Kim replies, "I'll do it." Sangbom's smile widens, a sinister glint in his eyes. "Good choice. It's better for you this way. Once I'm abroad, you won't have to see me again." But as he looks at Kim's face, he notices the anger simmering beneath the surface. "What's with that look?" Sangbom asks, irritation creeping into his voice. The bully's patience wears thin, and he prepares his fist for another punch. "Why haven't you given up yet?" he growls, unleashing a flurry of punches fueled by pure hatred. Kim can only brace himself, his expression stoic as the blows rain down. Blood trickles from his nose, but he manages a weak smile, apologizing for his defiance. "Sorry for looking like this," he mutters, wiping the blood from his face. "Better that way?" Seinbaum sneers, stepping back as he and his gang begin to leave the bathroom. "I'll count on you for the tests, nerd." As they exit, they continue to mock him, leaving Kim kneeling in the middle of the bathroom, speechless and broken. Tears stream down his face as he watches the blood drip from his nose, anger bubbling up inside him once more. "I don't want to be good at studying," he thinks bitterly. "I want to be good at fighting so I can defend myself." After a long day of classes, the sun begins to set, casting an orange glow across the sky. Night falls, and we return to Kim's home, where his mother is preparing dinner. He helps her in the kitchen, but she suddenly calls out, "Jake, go upstairs and call Lee." Kim's eyes widen in disbelief. "Why?" he asks, confusion etched on his face. "We're having dinner together," his mother replies cheerfully. "Dinner with a girl? That's strange," he thinks, but his mother insists, explaining that since they live in the same house, it's only natural to eat together. Reluctantly, he climbs the stairs, his mind racing. Now that we live together, what else can we do, he wonders. Reaching the second floor, he approaches Lee's door and knocks. "Lee?" he calls out, but there's no response. Just as he begins to wonder if she's even there, a soft voice floats through the door. "Come in." Thinking she's invited him in, he opens the door, only to be met with an unexpected sight. Lee, wrapped in a towel and singing along to a song playing on her phone, looks startled. "Get out!" she yells, grabbing a kettle nearby and hurling it at him. Kim barely has time to react as the kettle strikes him squarely on the head. The impact sends him crashing to the ground, unconscious, leaving Lee standing there in shock at her own reaction. After a while, Kim stirs from unconsciousness, feeling a gentle nudge against his side. He blinks groggily, and through his hazy vision, he sees Lee McKee, fully dressed, standing over him with a mocking grin. "Wake up, loser!" she taunts, stepping lightly on his back. Startled, Kim jolts upright, confusion flooding his mind. "What happened?" he asks, rubbing his head where the kettle had struck him. Lee, still smirking, explains, "You got knocked out by my kettle. What kind of pervert invades a girl's room without warning?" Kim's face flushes with embarrassment as he stammers, "I thought you invited me in. My mom asked me to call you for dinner." As he heads toward the door, Lee's expression darkens. "If you ever invade my room again without permission, I'll rip your limbs off," she warns, her disdain palpable. At the dining table, Lee takes a spoonful of food and her eyes light up. "Wow, this is amazing," she exclaims, breaking into a huge smile. "Your mom is a fantastic cook." Kim's mother beams with pride, grateful for the compliment. "I heard from your mom that you love soybean paste stew, so I made it just for you." Lee gives a thumbs up, declaring, "This is definitely the best soybean paste stew I've ever had." Meanwhile, Kim sits quietly, lost in thought. Is she polite with adults and rude only to me? He wonders, feeling a mix of confusion and irritation. His mother, noticing the silence, asks Lee, "So why did you move here alone?" Lee blushes slightly, feeling a bit awkward. "Well, I came here to study," she admits, surprising Kim. He's taken aback, impressed by her ambition. "You really came for that?" he asks, his disbelief evident. Lee's expression shifts to one of annoyance. "What? You doubt me?" She continues, explaining that her grandfather owns a building in the countryside and promised to pass it on to any grandchild who attends university in the city. Kim's mother is intrigued. "That's very kind of your grandfather," she exclaims. Lee nods, adding, "I'm using that as motivation to study hard. But there's more to it. In the countryside, there aren't any good schools, and I've only ever focused on sports. Studying is something new for me." Kim's mother smiles, pleased with Lee's determination. "That's a great decision. You could become the owner of a building." Kim remains silent, absorbing the conversation. It's impressive that her grandfather is giving away a building, he thinks, curious about what sport she practiced. Just then, his mother gives him a playful slap on the back. "You're the perfect person to help her study. You're the top student after all." Lee's eyes widen in surprise. "Wait, you're the top student?" she asks, looking at Kim with newfound interest. He nods, feeling a mix of pride and embarrassment. "Yeah, I guess so." His mother continues, "Despite how he looks, my son has always excelled academically." After a moment of contemplation, Lee realizes this could be the perfect opportunity to get closer to Kim. Outside, the full moon casts a silvery glow over the cloudy sky. As Kim's mother washes the dishes, she tells Lee she can head upstairs if she wants. "Thank you for the meal," Lee replies, bowing slightly, her expression brightening. Kim watches the exchange, still puzzled by Lee's unpredictable personality. Suddenly, she approaches him again, calling him a loser. "Hey, I want to talk to you." The moonlight illuminates the path as they descend a large staircase near Kim's house. "How far are we going?" he asks, glancing at her. Lee remains silent, her thoughts elsewhere. When they reach the end of a dark alley, Lee crouches down, pulls out a cigarette, and lights it with a lighter, a satisfied smile spreading across her face. "Number 1, she calls out, looking at Kim. "Teach me how to study." Kim is taken aback, surprised by her request. "Me? Teach you?" he stammers, feeling reluctant and nervous. "No way." Lee's irritation flares. "Why not? If I become the owner of that building, I'll give you a share." Even with the tempting offer, Kim shakes his head firmly. "I can't help you. I hate bullies, and I won't teach someone like you." He turns to head back upstairs, insisting, "I'm leaving. Finish your cigarette and go home." Lee watches her chance to secure the building slip away, frustration boiling over. "Wait. If you help me, I'll introduce you to a girl. I have tons of hot friends back in my town." Despite her pleas, Kim remains resolute, thinking to himself that even if they're beautiful, they're probably bullies just like her. But then Lee mentions a girl who likes his type, claiming she has gigantic balloons. Kim hesitates, the offer tempting him, but he shakes his head again, sticking to his principles. "I can't fall for that." Just then, a different voice interrupts, asking Lee to introduce this friend to him. Kim turns to see 3 bullies approaching, their intentions clear. Panic sets in as he recognizes them, delinquents who often hang around this neighborhood. The leader of the group, a hefty guy, leers at Lee. "You're hot. No need to introduce anyone else. You'll do just fine." He reaches for her, asking where she studies, and inviting her to go drinking with them. Lee keeps her head down, firmly stating, "I don't want to. Please leave me alone." The bullies persist, and Kim's heart races as he scans the empty street, desperate for help. The fat guy grabs Lee's hand, trying to pull her closer. "Don't play hard to get. You like guys like us." In a moment of sheer desperation, Kim pulls out his phone, ready to call 911. But before he can dial, Lee surprises everyone. "Actually, I do like guys," she says, her voice steady. The fat guy smirks, thinking he's won her over. "So how about that drink?" But Lee stands up, her demeanor shifting. She walks over to him, placing her hand behind his neck. "You're not a man, you're a filthy pig." With a swift motion, she pulls his head down and lands a powerful knee right on his chin, sending him staggering back in shock. Kim watches in shock as Lee's knee connects with the fat bully's chin, sending him crashing to the ground, unconscious. Did she really just knock out a guy that size with one hit? He thinks. Incredulous. The other 2 bullies, witnessing their friend's defeat, seethe with anger. One of them snarls, "I'm gonna kill you," and charges at Lee, fists raised. "Come on then," she taunts, slipping into a fighting stance. Kim can't help but think she looks like a black belt in martial arts. The delinquent lunges forward, throwing a wild punch, but Lee effortlessly dodges it. In a flash, she counters with a punch to his nose, causing blood to spurt everywhere. Seizing the moment, she follows up with another strike to his face and chin, and he collapses, unconscious, just like his friend. Kim stands frozen, unable to believe his eyes. She just took down 2 guys in seconds, he thinks, astonished. The last remaining bully, now furious at the sight of his friends lying on the ground, charges at Lee with arrogance. "Who do you think you are? I'm in the weightlifting club and a black belt in taekwondo," he boasts, running toward her. But Lee remains unfazed. As he throws a punch, she dodges effortlessly and executes a spinning elbow strike that lands squarely on his jaw. He, too, crumples to the ground, unconscious. Around her lie 3 defeated bullies, and Lee stands there, calm and collected, as if nothing out of the ordinary has happened. Kim, still in disbelief, starts to piece together the clues. She mentioned playing sports at dinner. Was it martial arts? As he descends the staircase, he calls out to her, "What sport do you practice?" Lee, inspecting her fist, looks up and scowls. "You could have called the police, you know." Hesitating, Kim asks again, "What sport do you practice?" Seeing the confusion on his face, Lee finally reveals, "I practice martial arts." Kim swallows hard, recalling all the bullying he endured from Sangbong. This could be my chance, he thinks, clenching his fists. I'll teach you how to study if you teach me how to fight. Lee's eyes widen in surprise at his proposal. You want to teach me? But then her expression turns cold. That's impossible. Kim is taken aback, confused by her refusal. Why not? With a disgusted look, Lee explains, teaching martial arts involves a lot of physical contact. We'd have to be close, smelling each other. I would never do that with you. She turns to leave, adding, just go train at a gym. But all the bullies from school go to gyms all over the city. Kim protests, feeling frustrated. Lee brushes off his concerns. That's your problem, not mine. I'll take care of my studies and you figure out how to fight on your own. As she walks away, Kim hesitates, wanting to say something but unsure of how to respond. He thought it was a good offer, but now it feels like a lost opportunity. Just then, the three bullies begin to stir, groaning as they wake up and wonder what happened. Kim, sensing the urgency, decides it's time to get home. I need to get out of here, he thinks, sprinting away as fast as he can. Later that day, as the early morning light filters through his window, Kim Jake lies awake in bed, replaying the fight he witnessed the day before. I've never seen anyone fight like that, even among the strongest bullies at school, he thinks, his mind racing with memories of Lee's impressive knockouts. If I could learn to fight from someone like her, it would be amazing, he muses, imagining a future where he could stand up to bullies like Sang Bom. The thought fills him with a mix of hope and determination. The next morning, Kim's mother calls from the kitchen, urging him to wake up. As she prepares to leave for work, she hands him 2 sandwiches. Make sure to give one to Lee, okay? Kim groans. Do I really have to deliver the other one to her? Please, just do it for me, his mother replies, her tone leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, he heads upstairs, feeling a bit intimidated at the thought of seeing Lee so early in the morning. Maybe she's changed her mind about yesterday, he wonders, contemplating whether to offer his proposal again. He knocks on her door, calling out, Lee? When there's no response, he hesitates, knowing that entering without permission could lead to another awkward encounter. Just as he's about to leave the sandwich on the floor, Lee's voice calls out, come in. With a mix of reluctance and curiosity, Kim opens the door. Should I really come in? He asks, unsure. Yes, she replies, and he steps inside. As he enters, his vision is momentarily obscured by a sight that leaves him flustered. Lee is only wearing a blouse, and he instinctively covers his eyes, thinking he's caught her in an intimate moment. Pervert, she exclaims, lifting her shirt to reveal she's wearing shorts underneath. Embarrassed, Kim stammers an apology, extending the sandwich toward her. My mom asked me to deliver this. Lee continues brushing her teeth, distracted by her phone. Just leave it and go away, she says nonchalantly. Kim places the sandwich on the dresser, but as he does, his gaze drifts to a stack of textbooks nearby. She came to Sue to study, right? He thinks, noticing something odd about the books. Curiosity piqued, he picks one up and reads the cover, his eyes widening in disbelief. Elementary school textbooks, he mutters to himself. As he flips through the pages, he realizes they've been used recently. No way, he thinks, recalling Lee's mention during dinner about living in the countryside without a proper school. Just then, Lee finishes brushing her teeth and exits the bathroom, her expression one of disbelief. Why are you still here? She asks, eyeing him suspiciously. Kim, still holding the textbook, asks, are you really studying with these books? Lee glances at the materials he's pointing to. Feeling a mix of pride and embarrassment, Lee avoids Kim's gaze, her irritation boiling over. In a sudden burst of anger, she strides up to him and pushes him against the wall. I'm not your friend, she snaps, her voice sharp. You can't just go through my things because you're in my room. Startled by her intimidation, Kim stammers. Okay, I'm sorry. He quickly steps back, eager to withdraw from the confrontation. But before he leaves, he gathers his courage to mention the proposal he had made the day before. If you change your mind about studying, just let me know, he says, recalling how he had offered to tutor her in exchange for fighting lessons. As he turns to leave, he adds, since you don't know the basics, no prep course will accept you. It'll be really hard for you to study alone. If you want to go to university in Sioux, I could help you. Lee, tired of hearing his voice, throws one of the textbooks at the door, shouting, just leave already. Time passes, and after school, the evening settles in at Kim's house. His mother, bustling around the kitchen, reminds him again to take food to Lee. Reluctantly, he agrees and heads upstairs. Just as he reaches the second floor, the front door swings open, and Lee's voice calls out, "What are you doing here?" Kim feels uncomfortable, not wanting to bring her food, but he explains, "My mom asked me to deliver this." Irritated, Lee tells him to wait a moment and not to leave. She continues up the stairs, leaving Kim confused as he faces her, sensing her anger. Once on the second floor, Lee approaches him, her demeanor shifting. "I need to talk to you about something important," she says, setting aside her pride. Kim raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "What is it?" Lee takes a deep breath, her expression serious. "I applied to 3 prep courses, but I was rejected by all of them because of the placement test." "Are you serious?" Kim asks, surprised. Embarrassed, Lee nods. "They said I'm at the level of someone in elementary school." Kim recalls his earlier warning. "I told you no prep course would accept you if you were at a much lower level," he reminds her gently. Setting aside her pride, Lee looks him in the eye. "We're going to do this," she declares, and Kim's heart races. "What do you mean?" he asks, confused. "I want you to teach me how to study," she says, her voice firm. "And in return, I'll teach you how to fight." A heavy silence hangs in the room as Kim processes her unexpected proposal, his mind racing with possibilities. Suddenly, Kim finds himself lost in thought, reflecting on the first day they began tutoring each other in Lee's room. He remembers standing at a small blackboard, ready to start a basic English lesson. "We'll begin with the alphabet," he announced, trying to sound professional. "Why are you being so formal?" Lee asked, raising an eyebrow. "As your tutor, I have to act this way during lessons," he replied, but at her request, he softened his tone. "Okay, I'll speak less formally." He then presented her with a small test, asking, "What does this word mean?" Lee thought for a moment before confidently answering, "Cigarettes." Kim blinked in confusion, unsure how she arrived at that conclusion. He continued with a series of vocabulary questions, but Lee struggled to answer any of them. Anxiety began to creep in as he realized just how little she understood. "Let's start with the alphabet," he suggested, feeling a sense of urgency. As he explained the basics of the English alphabet, he couldn't shake the feeling that her situation was worse than he had initially thought. After a long session of teaching, Lee suddenly announced, "Now we're switching to martial arts lessons." She settled cross-legged on her bed, her expression serious. "If you know your opponent, you can easily defeat them. The first thing we need to do is gather information about the target." Sitting on the floor, Kim asked, "Is gathering information really part of fighting?" "Of course," Lee replied, her confidence shining through. "You can't defeat someone without knowing their weaknesses." With that, she declared they would start with that. On another day, Kim found himself with Lee on his shoulders, helping her see over a wall. "Are you sure the delinquents smoke here?" she asked, peering over the edge. "Yeah, I'm sure," he confirmed, scanning the area. As they looked around, they spotted a group of bullies approaching, with Sangbom leading the pack, his typical psycho expression plastered on his face. "Hey, can I get a cigarette?" he asked one of his friends. Lee turned to Kim, her eyes sharp. "Is that the redhead you're going to fight?" "Yeah," he replied, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. One of Sangbom's friends chimed in. "Are you really gonna fight him later?" "What happened?" Kim explained. "He's been bothering me for a while now." The big guy in the group asked, "Where's the fight going to take place?" "In the underground parking lot after school," Kim replied, feeling the weight of the upcoming confrontation. Seeing an opportunity to gather intel on Sangbom's weaknesses, Lee suggested they observe the fight. "We should watch," she insisted. Confused, Kim asked, "Can you get off me?" "You're too heavy." Irritated, Lee shot back, "I'm not heavy, you're just weak." In the ensuing struggle, they both tumbled to the ground, with Lee landing on Kim's back. The bullies nearby heard the thud and exchanged glances, wondering what had just happened. "Why did you drop me?" Lee scolded, brushing herself off as they lay on the ground. Amid 2 tall blue buildings in the city center, a guard post stood at the entrance to the underground parking lot. Kim, still catching his breath, asked Lee, "Why are we watching this fight?" "Because I want to see how Sangbom fights," she replied, her eyes focused. "Just listen to what I'm saying," she added, her tone firm. As they settled on the staircase leading to the garage, Kim carried Lee's bag, feeling the weight of their mission. "Am I really learning to fight?" "I haven't practiced anything yet," he admitted, a hint of doubt creeping into his voice. Lee's annoyance flared. "Do you doubt me? We're on different levels, you know." "Yeah, I agree," Kim said. trying to keep the peace. As more people began to arrive, including a group of bullies, Kim turned to Lee. "They're here," he informed her. Lee stood up from the steps, determination in her eyes. "Let's go down," she said, ready to face whatever awaited them.